So realistically, however you want to start opening day, you know your top three pitchers are going to be Andres Diaz, Chris Erwin, and Peyton Long. And I don't think last year going into that, we really knew what we were getting out of our starting rotation.
He gets one high in the air. Left field. This one's got a chance. And let's go on a cowhide. Joyride. Sound the horn. The RailCats clear the yard.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to the RailCats Talk podcast. He's Chuck Polarek. I'm Kyle Svetich. And before we even started the show, the pre-show, we're already bickering about how we're going to talk about this week today. So, Chuck, how was your week?
You know what? I personally did not have a week that is even to be mentioned, but the fact that we got Railcats news this week, and I was very excited to see that we re-signed Chris Erwin, and the reason why I'm really excited about it is because I really like the guy. Um, I like that he's a left-hander like I am. We both had shoulder surgery, and I've messaged him back and forth as to how his procedure went when I had mine, and then last year towards the end of the season when he said he wasn't coming back, I was I tried to hide the fact that I was very disappointed, but seeing that he's coming back, very excited. I did message him as soon as I saw the news, and I said, he goes, hopefully we have a better year this year. I just want to win. So, hey, I'm excited.
I was probably as shocked as you were because we were both sitting there, one asking him to be on the podcast. He did looked us both in the eyes and said that ain't happening. So I'm not going to reach out to him to get him
Oh, I'm
on.
going to. I'm
No,
going to
you
reach out.
can. You can reach out, and if he says green light, that's fine. But he also kind of gave like that's kind of my time, and I think I need to start moving on. Well, that's probably the biggest shock of the 2025 season so far. Uh,
And I mean, if you think about it, like of all the pitchers that we had last year, uh, Peyton Long did a great job.
mhm.
Um, he started off a little rough, had some rough patches, but when you look at overall reliability, I think Peyton Long was one of the guys.
Mhm.
So to bring Peyton Long back, which still has some huge upside, uh, coming back a second year in Gary, so you don't have that new team jitters and all that stuff. And then kind of, getting in with the same routine as he was in last year. You're coming back to comfort, so that's awesome. And then seeing Erwin come back for what, his 15th, 20th, 35, 35th year, something like that.
His
I
fifth
mean,
his fifth season, and
that's
we
that's unheard of.
we do have to do some. Well, maybe me have to do some digging on this because on the American Association Twitter, they put out that he resigned back with Railcats and that he was second in strikeouts and games started, or fourth with games started in American Association history for the Railcats. But for the Railcat side of it, they said that he has started in more games and struck out more batters and pitched in more innings than any other Railcat hurler. So I'm not sure who now. I understand that you have a record book in Gary, but you also have a record book in the American Association.
Right.
So I don't know which one to believe here at
I'll tell
this
you,
point.
I I would love to see Chris Irwin at the top of some records at the end of this season and
So
have to be there for a god awful long time.
I
So that when I'm 70, I can look at that and say, I saw him pitch. He was a great guy to see play.
okay. So we'll get into Chris and then we'll get into Peyton. So he's going on his 29th. He's 29 years of age, going on his fifth season with the Railcats. He has 255 strikeouts and 52 games started. So wherever you want to leave that on the leaderboard with the Railcats, still very impressive. He could probably have blown if he was healthy in 2023 and most of 2024. He would have probably blown all of those records out the water. He would be on
Yep.
top of all that just with with how good he is. And Lamar did say that he did have some MLB scouts looking at him this year. It just probably never came all the way through. But so last year he played 16 games with the RailCats, started in all 16, went 5-6, pitched 74 innings. He had 70 strikeouts, 39 walks, 81 hits, ERA of 5
He had
5.2.
he had to have been in a game. There was a game that when he came back from one of his injuries, or he had an extended day off or extended time off. He came in like the third inning or something, or the second inning, something like that. So there was a game where he didn't start that he did pitch, and he came.
As far as I'm aware of, everything that on Point Streak and on Baseball Reference has shown that he played in 16 games and started in 16 of them.
Yeah, there's something wrong there.
So
Because I remember that game pissed me off because they brought him in after he's been injured. He really needs to not be in a stressful situation so that he can kind of work his way through. And they brought him in with people on base and like in a clutch situation. I remember that. And I was like, seriously, this is when you're going to bring my guy in? I hope you remember that. I don't remember who started that game. For some reason, I think Franklin must have started that game,
I just
or
may
Carlos.
have. I may have to do some research on that as well because
Yeah,
both Point Streak and Baseball Reference, and when they both kind of align, I kind of take it for what it is at that point. Yeah,
incorrect.
well, same nonetheless.
All right. Anyways, pesky facts.
Yeah, here and there. He had a whip of 1.6, hits per nine of 9.8, home runs per nine. I think I doubled that up. I think it was like point 0.8. Walks per nine was 4.7. Strikeouts per nine were 8.5. The big thing to take away, and this is a conversation that we're probably going to have on Wednesday with Nick and Ryan. I'll tease that a little bit more later on, but is the amount of hits that the RailCats team gives up in general. There's a lot of it. A lot of walks and a lot of hits. Not a lot of home runs necessarily, but a lot of walks and a lot of hits. So like that's something to keep in mind when we kind of look through all these people that are coming back or that we're signing to kind of look at that walks per nine and the strikeouts per nine. Strikeouts per nine, 8.5. Like he strikes people out. He's gonna strike people out, but he's also gonna give up hits. It's just a matter of are those strikeouts going to outweigh the amount of hits that he gives up?
Right.
Also depends a lot of it on the team that's behind him. He's going to throw
Absolutely.
strikes, and you have to put a team around him that's going to be able to recover when that does happen.
You have to have a team that you can when you're a pitcher, you have to be able to rely on your teammates behind you
Mhm.
because you don't put the whole weight of the game on your shoulders. Your job isn't to strike out guys. Your job isn't to win the game. Your job is to keep the game within a winning scenario. But to get the guys to hit the ball on the ground, your job is to just get outs and not give up runs.
Well, but with that perspective, there are some pitchers that strike people out, do that,
Yep.
and there are some pitchers that will give up hits. It's
Yep.
just the issue. Chris is a strikeout guy,
Absolutely.
so giving up hits, it's not part of his. It's not like a Ty Tiedemann where his
Right.
idea is giving up. He's going to make contact. The batter's going to make contact. So it's just a
Controlled
matter of
contact.
yes.
Controlled contact.
This is what Lamar had to say about Chris. Quote, when healthy, Chris can be one of the better left-handed pitchers starting in the American Association. In 2024, he worked through the season recovering from an off-season surgery in 2023, and at the beginning of 2024, he had gained the attention of some MLB teams. It's a bright future if he can just stay healthy, unquote.
Yep.
2023 arm injury, 2024 really wasn't. When you look at his stats have kind of gone down or gone up as far as like ERA, WHIP, and so on
Right.
forth. So you can take 2024 as a recovery year
Yep.
to kind of get
That's
him
exactly how it.
through. He is a pitcher when healthy that can eat innings, which is something that I think we've lacked in. And that is it's a positive to see him coming back because he can be a leader in the clubhouse and at the starting rotation. I obviously with what we have
Oh,
now,
I
I
I don't see. I here's Chris is a very quiet guy.
well, yes,
He's a very show up to work and do my job guy.
but that's but that there are different types of leaders. There are leaders that are very vocal, and there are leaders that will just do. He has the age. This year is going to be interesting. If his mindset is I just want to win and not worry about anything else, he'll be an effective leader in the clubhouse. But if he has MLB teams looking at him, yes, he's 29 years of age. Is he going to hit a certain point in the season if he's doing successful and he's not getting that call? Is he going to cash in the rest of the year? That does happen, but
It yeah,
I
it
I
does
don't
happen. But I
I don't see it from Chris. I don't see that
exact
kind of if
exactly.
they're not winning, I can see him maybe trying to get out of the situation so that he can at least try to win. He's been in the American Association for 5 years. Like
I I think that Chris enjoys himself and Gary. I think that Chris has built up a lot of relationships with people in Gary, outside of baseball, but specifically uh, host families and even I mean he came over to my house and had dinner one
mhm.
time. He's the type of guy that he gets along with you, and he's just a great guy. So uh, my thinking as a fan, I want him to win.
Yeah.
If I'm if it gets to, and I want him to win on my team, but if it gets to a point where my team is not going to be doing it for him, I will root for him. I don't care who he's facing, even if he's facing the RailCats, I will root for Chris.
I obviously with the three players or the three pitchers that we've signed, well, four, but we haven't talked about him, but the three returning pitchers, I would say Chris is probably number two, teetering into number one. I,
Who would you put number one?
I would probably put Peyton number one.
That's
It,
the so that's what I was thinking when you said teetering number one. I honestly think that um, having these two guys is the best situation you could be walking into because you legitimately have a 1A and a 1B with these two guys. If Peyton comes in and pitches the way that he did at his peaks last year,
mhm.
he's going to be lights out. I mean, he had some games where it was a shutout, and you're like, "Holy crap, is this guy good?" Um, and then he had some games where it was like all of a sudden everybody's ripping the ball, right? And you don't know what happened
The
between the two.
inconsistency
Right.
that's that was the argument that I had. Realistically, the thing is I think some people could argue that Anders Diaz, nice
Got my
nice
Chicago Dogs cup. You see this?
Anders Diaz could have potentially been the ace this year if he was to have stayed very consistent. He went from bullpen to starting pitching to kind of starting to slow down a little bit towards the end of the year because he wasn't he was 22 years of age, and I think most of the time that he pitched more like in a season was like 22 innings.
Right.
So I think his arm kind of wore out a little bit. So like, and in the case where I was getting with Chris was he's going to be that leader. He's probably going to be more at the beginning of that rotation. But if the people that are younger than him are showing the work that they can have, he's going to probably get pushed later. We're going to have more depth in the bullpen, or not the bullpen, in the starting rotation. It's something that we necessarily didn't have last year. And that I don't see that as a negative. Now, obviously, if he catches fire and he stays consistent like we know Chris Erwin could be, he'll be the ace no matter what. I'm just saying, based on the numbers and the projection of the
I
age, it's
I just need Chris to have a healthy season. If he has a healthy season, he is the most reliable pitcher you're going to have, and he is the most consistent pitcher that you're going to have. If he has a healthy season, and and I mean, he had shoulder surgery.
yeah,
I had shoulder surgery, and it's been 7 months. His was uh his was what October 5 6 months. He came back in 6 months.
yeah.
Mine's been 7 months, and I can do that. I can't throw a baseball. And when I'm sleeping, I get tingles down my arm that feels like somebody's jabbing it with a knife. So I can only say that, hey,
Well,
I'm
he
9,000 years old compared to him. But
well, yeah, the age does matter, but he probably went through extensive
that's
therapy to
good.
get back to where he's at, and instead of running around on what's that Nintendo game you're playing now?
Switch.
It's the
Nintendo Switch.
Switch.
Right. We all
Whatever
keep
that.
on the cold and catch the cold
Yeah,
while we're
everyone
running a
can't
mile.
go try to warm up the temperature outside and run some
Right.
miles.
Yeah. No.
Anyways,
Anyways, that's
I'm
Chris Irwin.
yes,
We
Chris
got
Irwin. Yes.
exciting. That was my exciting thing. Next.
Going into Peyton Long, he's going his second full season with the RailCats. He's 27 years of age. He was named Player of the Week on June 24th of last season. He won both of those games in that week, going 7 innings in each game. He only gave up one earned run on 8 hits, struck out six, and walked only two batters. Looking at his season with the RailCats, played in 21 games, started in 21 of the or all 21 of them, had a record of 4-12, ERA of 5.5. He pitched 113 innings, gave up 131 hits, 77 runs, 69 earned, 12 home runs, 29 walks, struck out 69, and only hit four batters. His WHIP was 1.4. He was second on the team among starting pitchers. Um, with the whip. The only other player that had a better whip than him was Dane Olivero, who only played in 3 games. And if you go on to like point streak, he's like seventh on that list. But like you have a Jackson Valera and two guys that pitched like 1 inning with the Railcats, so that kind of voids it out. His hits per nine was 10.4. Obviously, that's a little bit too much, but those are also the inconsistency in his game. Home runs per nine is one. Walks per nine is 2.3, and strikeouts per nine is 5.5. The thing that the bright side with Peyton is he came from the Pioneer League. He had a low home run record. He steps into the American Association, still has a low home run, gives up least amount of home runs, but he doesn't walk a lot of people. And that is something that the Railcats, obviously, most of their starting pitching failed in, was the amount of walks they gave. He's going to give you that fine line between strikeouts and amount of hits that he's going to put in play. But a lot of the bigger games that he had, um, they were always on one side or the other of the spectrum. He either had really good games or he had really bad games. There was not a lot of in the middle games where, and that's kind of shows with the record of 4-12. Now, the record fully doesn't show the pitcher themselves, but it also does show the losses show more than the wins in that perspective. He is someone that can compete with that starting day one job, and he can keep that if he's consistent throughout the entire year. So realistically, however you want to start opening day, your top three pitchers are going to be Andres Diaz, Chris Irwin, and Peyton Long. And I don't think last year going into that, we really knew what we were getting out of our starting rotation
No.
because we weren't sure about Chris Irwin because he was hurt. You had Ty, you had Peyton, you had a bunch of other people,
Oh,
but you weren't
yeah, but
positive.
you had Franklin and you had Carlos Nabria, and those were your two guys that were
Yeah, but
killers.
Franklin was coming off an injury.
Yep.
Carlos was more of a relief pitcher, so like a lot of last year was, can these guys be starters?
Right.
and
I agree.
versus these guys are starters.
I agree with you. You know what you with these guys, you know what you're getting, and if we could just consistency, that's the key with all three of these guys that we're talking about.
Lamar said this about Peyton, quote, "At times Peyton was electric on the mound. He attacked the zone through strikes, mixed pitches, and worked fast. With a season under his belt in the league, improvement with avoiding the big innings will be a key to his success in
Absolutely.
2025." Unquote. That
Absolutely.
that sums up his 2024 season in a nutshell.
Yep.
Like the numbers and what that quote was adds up. If he's consistent and he can pitch at a consistent level, he will be dominant in this league if he's consistent.
Now I want to throw out a little tidbit here that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but we are talking about Peyton. Peyton Long was brought to the team because of his connection with LG. And if Peyton Long resigns, then I'm hoping that I get to see LG resign here shortly. So this is my pitch to have LG back on the team this year. Better happen. Lamar, make it happen.
Now I know that he's managing what Planet Fitness, I think. I know on Instagram he posted a picture of him manage. This was a month or two ago, managing a Planet Fitness. So I don't know if he's already found his next.
Bring back LG.
I, okay.
The end.
All right. Then the third pitcher of the week that got signed was Brayan Villar. So he is 25. He will be 26 here, I think, at the beginning of February. He is from West Orange, New Jersey. He is 6'2", 200 pounds. He played college ball at Keystone College in Pennsylvania. In his senior year, he went 8-0, started in 10 games, struck out 53 with an ERA of 3.7. He helped the team win their 19th straight conference title. He got the start and pitched 5.2 innings while striking out six. He also received the United East Sky Division Pitcher of the Year award and was named to the first team All United East team after college. He then signed a MLB draft league contract with the Mowing Valley Scrappers. Um, in his 3 years in college, he pitched 31 games, started in 28. He had a record of 8-4, ERA of 5.4 with two complete games that came in his senior year. He pitched over 135 innings, gave up 142 hits, 101 runs, 82 earned, 7 home runs, walked 82 batters, and then he hit 32. He struck out 139. He had a whip of 1.65. Home runs per nine of 9.4, home run or hits per nine of 9.4, home runs per nine of 0.5, walks per nine of 5.5, and strikeouts per nine is 9.2 through his 3 years at college.
Yeah, hold on. How many games did you say that was?
That was in 31 games.
And how many people did he hit
He hit 32 batters.
in 31 games?
Yes.
He hit 32 batters in 31 games.
Yes. I can double check that, but that
We
is
just signed a guy that hit 32
hold,
batters in
hold, hold, hold
31
on, hold
games.
on, hold on. Listen, Linda. You didn't let me finish because I put in my article that his numbers progressively got better, and most of the bad numbers came in his freshman year. So
Sell me on this guy.
give me a let me you you want me to
We should have started out with this and we could have left on a high note with Chris Erwin, but you
we'll
brought
leave
this
on a
guy
high
last.
note.
Now I'm sitting
Um
having flashbacks to
it's
last year where we hit like 55 batters in one game.
yeah. So in his sophomore year, he hit 14, and in his senior year he hit 13 batters. Um here's the thing, and yes, did he hit a lot of batters? Yes. But to me, he's living on the inside part of the plate. He doesn't necessarily walk a lot of people. He just hits a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I like your spin there that he lives on the inside. Yeah, I've seen we've had pitchers that have hit a lot of batters, and it's not because they're living on the
Listen,
inside of the
listen,
plate.
listen, listen,
They just
listen.
flat out hit a lot of batters.
Hey, listen. Even if you hit 13 batters in a year and you still win pitcher of the year in the conference, I'll take it. He's a winner. He wins. He wins. He's just a winner. He's shown that he can win. Yes, he may.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna agree with you on this one thing. Here's what I'm gonna say. It is okay to have 32 batters hit in 31 games. If you are hitting them with 97-mile-an-hour fastballs, just so that the other 8 guys that come up to bat are too scared to swing the bat. In that case, I'm game. I give you the thumbs up.
Listen,
That's the
listen,
only way that hitting 32 batters is going to happen.
listen. If you're telling me, all right, so in his entire career so far, right, his walks per nine is 4.4, right? It's over 200 innings. He may have played in 49 games and may have only hit a total of 48 batters. So that's one batter per game. I mean, I'm just saying, you hit one batter per game, and
But it's not. It's walking a batter and hitting a batter are not the same.
less pitches. I'm not less pitches, and I'm getting you on base. I'm gonna get you to double play ball, and I threw three less pitches.
You have a pitcher that goes toe to toe with a batter and slides it on the outside, and the guy doesn't bite, and that's ball four, is a lot better pitcher than a guy that's hitting somebody. Because at least with that
Back off
walk,
the
you had
plate.
the opportunity for a strikeout.
Back off the plate. Because then you get them backed off the plate and you start throwing it inside, and if they back off the plate and you throw it right there, it's going to be a strike more times than not because they're backed off
So,
the plate.
what's this guy's name?
Brayan Villar.
Brian. Brian, I'm sorry that when we mention you, all that we're talking about is how many people you've hit. I hope that you get the control under and that you have a very successful year with the RailCats.
So and then let's see. Let me get what
But
Lamar.
I'm gonna have a hard time getting past how many guys.
So this is what Lamar said. And on top of this, he also shared a clubhouse with Jake Allgaier and Jonathan Martinez, with the Scrappers. So he's familiar with two other people that played are that are on the team right now with RailCats. Quote, Villar will come in and compete for a role in the starting staff as potential swing arm candidate. Uh, his ability to throw strikes reflects on his strikeout slash win walk ratio in 2024 and compete drew attention during the MLB Draft League season. He comes highly recommended from potential opportunity. Is he a guaranteed spot on the team? No.
So what you just read there, I haven't looked at what Lamar said about any of these guys. I actually wait until you tell me stuff and then we have conversations.
Mhm.
So none of this stuff's canned. But what you just read there tells me Lamar understands that this guy hits a lot of people and he's given this guy an opportunity because there's an upswing. Let him make his own path. That's what
Yes.
Lamar's saying there.
That's why he if he can get the control,
Yep.
he'll be a good pitcher.
Yep. Yep. That's good.
It
That's
is, but again,
it's a lot better than me being angry at the fact this guy's we're signing a guy with
but
five
again,
batters.
but listen, most time than not, if you're hitting the batter, at least you're somewhat near the strike zone sometimes.
I think Gio got hit in the back of the head last year, so that's nowhere near the strike zone.
Well, I guess he did. Yeah, well, that
Might
that's the argument. That that's just gonna wait until we see him actually pitch, or yeah, we'll
Hey,
go from
I'm
there.
upside. He's,
Upside,
he's an
he's
upside.
got if
He's an upside pitcher.
Yes, he is a very um so we had that discussion last week about Grant Umberger's contract, him being signed from the RailCats to the White Sox.
Right.
A source reached out to me
Yep. One
and
of our
told,
sources.
yes, one of our sources reached out to me and gave me a definition of what happens. So the White Sox did not have to purchase Umberger's contract because it was before opening day. If it was after opening day, the White Sox would have to have a buyout fee for $15,000. But since that didn't happen, there was no,
Right.
and that counts for MLB, Mexican, and Asian organizations. So anything that's also MLB partner league or like the Pecos League or whatever the case league, that they can't do that. He can't go to any other independent baseball team besides those kind of other organizations. And that was just to get the American Association did that last year, so that way it was easier for guys to be signed in the off season to these kind of programs because that way they didn't have to pay the half amount or the full amount that they were getting previously. So
Right.
that's where that kind of
And let's put this into perspective. These guys are playing for how many months for our league, right?
yes.
Is it like 4 months, 5 months, right?
Yes, from May
Um,
to September, however you want to put that
and
together.
these guys are getting paid. Um, let's just throw a number out there, $2,000 a month.
Hmm.
Okay, so their buyout during the season is more. The team gets more
Yes.
than what these guys are actually getting paid. So let's think about that. Let's let that soak in for a minute. The team makes money off of these players if they get picked up by MLB during the season. So it is only fair that there is no buyout and these guys have an opportunity outside the season to be able to make it to the pros, to the big leagues.
And then I did ask, I said, I did also ask in that portion, so we were kind of talking about it, if the White Sox were to release Grant Umberger, would the Railcats have right to first refusal? And yes, but say if it's tomorrow, this happens. I'm not saying that it's going to happen tomorrow, but the Railcats have 7 days to re-sign him. If it's after opening day, they have 3 days.
There you go.
Most of the time, there is a good faith contract in there for that to happen, and most times, um, teams will not.
Poach your players.
Yes, they won't take because they would assume that it's Lamar's guy. The only thing downside to that situation is that one, there has been no league announcement of it, and two, other than me and you, have announced that his contract was purchased by the White Sox. So if, uh, just say for example, a Cleburne is unaware of that situation, they see that he's available, and they can poach him
Right, right.
without knowing you're that's like it's kind of like the unwritten rule sort of deal. Like it's their guy, you don't kind of mess with them a little bit. You're not trying to tamper with it. So like I think that's a failure on one, the league's portion of it. Granted, I get that Grant never played a game with the Railcats. Also a failure on the Railcats side of it because to me, I'm personally I'd be promoting it. We just had a guy get signed by, yeah, he never played, but at least he was a Railcat and he's being signed. Like I just
Yeah.
that's one of those situations where at least you can kind of put an announcement. You can just pass
But
by
you
it, but
but you also might be that this is, hey, something's in the works here. We don't want to mention it because it's not something that's solidified yet.
when we talked to Roger, he tried to sign a guy that he knew was
He
more
did
than
something
likely. Yeah, he signed a guy that was more than
that
likely
he
he
knew was
knew.
getting picked up.
I'm just saying, I I'm just saying this is the kind of things that help get the brand out there a little bit more.
But if you listen to what Roger said, his first pick was a guy that they already knew was getting picked up by the MLB, and the only reason why he signed him was to give them extra money.
I,
That was it. It wasn't for the publicity
I
necessarily.
well, you need the publicity. I'm sorry. That's just one of those you
Yeah,
need to be proud of the people that even if they haven't played a game necessarily, be the proud of the people that you pick that get signed by. Because
I agree.
realistically, out of the years doing this, outside of like, I mean, Grant, I think Josh Smith, Nate Alexander both signed contracts with the Mexican League that have not been announced by the RailCats or the league in general, but I see it on their Instagram pages or their um
They're playing winter ball.
they're playing, but I'm just saying like they're more likely not going to be a RailCat next year because they're going to be playing in the Mexican League. Like that's I'm just saying that's stuff that you should be promoting because that just means that you're yes, you may not be winning at the steel yard, but at least those pitchers that are the players that you've seen are going on to big and better things to a certain extent. I'm just saying needs to be more of that. That's all I'm saying on that
I
front.
I agree with you that we do a very poor job in spinning the information that we have to maximize the publicity in a positive way. I agree with you.
So we had that clear up on that front of it. Now, I tweeted out on the Railcast Talk podcast or the Railcast Talk Twitter and Facebook and Instagram that they should listen to the Indy Ball Report with Indy Ball Report and then Indy Ball Nation with Nick and
Yep.
Ryan. Nick, Indy Ball Nation's Ryan. They, if you aren't aware of them, which if you want to get more in depth with Indy Ball in general, they post once a week on mostly Saturdays, and they have very good conversations, baseball conversations of what goes around in all of the leagues. I was on during the terrible game against Cleburne, where they gave up all those walks, and I jumped on, and they've kind of discussed having like a GM of the day kind of deal where they kind of took the Railcats and tried to figure out the problems. Well, I reached out to them and they've both agreed to come on to the show and have a baseball conversation of the Railcats. That's going to include if they were GM, what they would do, what their thoughts of Gary is, their thoughts about Lamar and the situation that he was left. It's going to be a very good baseball conversation. It's going to be a little bit different than what we're used to here. So it's probably going to be a lengthy talk.
Wait, hold on a second. It's going to be different than what we're used to. We always have really good baseball conversations here. Come on now.
Chuck, for the past like 2.5 months, we've been just blabbering on about promotions
Exactly.
that
That's a
I
good
that I
baseball.
that I did not bring up until like a half hour into the show. So that's
That's
good
a
thing.
plus.
That's
That's
a
a plus. I
plus.
was surprised. I thought promotions was our word that we didn't use this week, but
I
okay.
I well I had to tie it in into the conversation that we're going to have
Appreciate
now.
that. I appreciate that.
So it's going to be a fun, interesting. So if I were you guys, I would go back and go to Indie Ball Report. It's on Podbean, it's on Spotify, YouTube. Go back and just kind of get yourselves familiarized with Nick and Ryan. And then I will also be giving them the uncut version of whatever we decide to take out and give it to them so they can use whatever they want on their side of it because I think it's just one of those that you can splice up either way. Both people can get credit for it. I mean, this is ultimately what it's going to turn into is that they're going to take over the show to a certain extent, and me and Chuck are going to sit back and we're just going to answer questions, or not answer questions, but we're going to ask questions and kind of get to learn a lot about an outside perspective of Gary.
Now, I'm gonna tell you a few things. One, I don't really listen to podcasts.
We know.
Surprise, right? Two, I have no idea who these guys are. So I am, I'm running with you on
Chuck,
this.
they know who you are, so
Well, that's
you should be
the way
ashamed of
that I
yourself.
find a lot of people are in this world is they knew who I am and I have no clue who they are, mainly because my memory is crap. Um, so, hey, I will, this is going to be fun for me because I get to ask questions that they've probably answered 15 times on their own podcast and I don't know the answers to them. So we'll see how that goes. I don't
I,
even listen to our podcast. You know how many times I'm sitting there listening to my voice because Natasha's got her phone on and she's like, "Oh, look at what Kyle picked this time," and I'm like, "Oh, that was pretty funny when I did that," and then I'm like, "I'm not watching it." I don't
so,
want to
so, so,
artificially pop those numbers up.
it's not artificial. You're just going back and learning and critiquing yourself or me, mostly me, but that's
All
nor
the
here
time.
nor on that one. All the
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
Oh, we don't
that's
want my critiques on these podcasts. So
I don't listen back to the final product because I already listened to it 5 million and one times because I
right.
have to edit it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I got the sweet seat. One, you're sitting there, you got the headphones on. I'm sitting in a recliner with my feet up, and I'm just enjoying the fact that I get to talk about RailCats baseball. So
no.
I don't have any of the headaches that you have when it comes to this. And really, the guy we need to talk about is Ryan because he's down in that cage and he's the one that does all the work behind the scenes.
Now, don't get people confused. Ryan of Indy Ball Nation
Different.
and it's completely different than Ryan who's locked in my dog cage. So I
Right.
just want everyone to get that straight on
Appreciate
that
it.
front of it. So
All right.
Chuck, do you have any final thoughts for this
I do.
week?
I do. Hey, um, in talking to a friend of mine from Chicago. He's a Chicago Dogs fan. He listens to the podcast. We've got fans from different teams that listen to this thing. I just want to say thank you to those people that are listening. And even though you don't have any skin in the game when it comes to a team like the RailCats, thanks for your time and that for listening to two schmoes talk about baseball. And half the time it's not even about baseball. But hey, thanks for that. And thanks for the constant. It seems like just about every week I get somebody that says, "Hey, I listened to this and you said that." Thanks for that.
Mhm.
It really does kind of reaffirm that. I mean, I said this before. Let's reel this back. You got two guys here, two schmoes that we just want to talk about baseball. And when Ryan was doing this, or sorry, when Ryan was behind the scenes there doing this, and he said, Kyle, you're kind of stagnant here on the podcast thing, and I said, you know what, Kyle, me and you talk baseball before a game for 45 minutes, and we just talk about the team. And I said, this is what people want to listen to, I guess. So that's what we do,
Mhm.
and the fact that we've got other people listening is hilarious to me. So you send me a message, hey, this guy reached out. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Well, there's a need, even if it may not be, it may be the nichest of niche things that go on here because we're just talking about one team inside of a small portion of a bigger portion of a smaller portion. There's a lot of portions here to this, but anyways, I'm getting sidetracked what I'm talking about. It is one of those situations where it is nice to see other people reaching out and having the same interests that we are, because sometimes it does get to the point where you do this for a couple weeks or a month and you're just like, am I really doing something here, or is it just something that not that I enjoy doing, it's just, am I just doing it just because I need something to talk about? More than likely, yes. But then you get other people that are like, yeah, I listen and I enjoy it. Then it's like, oh, it makes me want to do just a little bit better next time.
We sit. This is the way I look at it. I would enjoy if me and you got and just had a conversation about baseball for 45 minutes a week. The
Mhm.
only difference here is that it lasts more than 45 minutes because it would anyways, and it's recorded and everybody gets to see the conversation.
Yeah,
That's how I look at this, and
naturally how it goes.
right. And the this was a funny one that I was thinking about the other day is that Thomas with does video stuff for the
Hmm.
rail, and I was trying to get a hold of him but I don't have his number. And so I had reached out to somebody saying, hey, can you get a hold of Thomas for me and let him know I'm trying to get a hold of him? I just had some questions for him or what have you. And, I didn't post it on here. I didn't
Mhm.
talk about it on here. And I should have, because not realizing that when we had hot dogs with Santa, that he listens to every podcast. And he's like, I listen to you guys all the time. And I've been trying to get a hold of you, and I didn't realize that it would have been as easy. And he's like, I've even commented on some of your videos, and I'm like, I didn't know that was you, so just stuff like that. It's absolutely, I don't know. It makes my day. It really does. And that takes a lot from an old guy like me, but it really does uh, bring a lot of positivity
Mhm.
into this whole thing. So thank you for that, people that listen and spend your time. I know it's a long-winded thank you, but it's well deserved.
So depending on what happens throughout the course of the week, if we have some signings, I may do 2 podcasts next week. If we don't have any signings, it'll probably just be the conversation that we have with Nick and Ryan about them taking over as GM for a day or whatever the case may be for the RailCats. So next week might be a special double up. I'm not 100% positive. We'll have to wait to see that one out.
We've got RailCats bowling coming up
Oh yeah, the RailCats bowling is coming up. Yes.
in like, I
Um,
don't even think it's 2 weeks. I think it's like a week from Thursday. So,
Probably
oh my goodness. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to bowl, but I'm signed up because my shoulder hurts all the time.
just granny
Gonna
style
be,
it. Just bend over and push.
you don't understand, man. These guys are out for blood on some of these teams. I mean, I've never seen guys that like sit there and bowl, and I'm like, dude, you're like 18 years old and you're bowling a 280. Come on now. Seriously? I'm struggling at my age and I'm bowling like 110. And these guys are out there looking like pros for crying
Well,
out.
get the guardrails up and granny style it. Just
No. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna talk to them about getting me one of those dinosaurs where you just put the ball on and it automatically
yeah.
rolls. That's what I'm gonna see if I can use the dinosaur for this
All right.
next
Well,
one.
the Chuck's gonna win the RailCats bowling league because he wants to cheat. So that's gonna wrap it up for this week of the RailCats Talk podcast. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this, and go Cats.
Go Cats.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.